Mark Labbett had always seemed larger than life. The moment he stepped into a room or onto a game show set, the energy changed. His booming voice, lightning-fast mind, and mischievous smirk made him unforgettable. People admired him not just because he was clever, but because he made intelligence fun. He was bold, brilliant, and surprisingly hilarious when you least expected it. But beyond the public persona, beyond the beast, the quiz titan, was a man with a huge heart and a private life far softer than the world ever saw. Away from the cameras, Mark was simply Mark. He loved cooking elaborate meals he often burned. He loved late-night walks. And most of all, he loved the people closest to him, his family, his friends, and especially his young son who worshipped him like a superhero. Life had always felt predictable in its own chaotic way. Work, filming, family dinners, laughing at ridiculous memes, trying and failing to assemble flat-pack furniture. But everything changed the moment Mark began to slow down without meaning to. It started with exhaustion he couldn't explain. A few odd days where he felt off. Then moments where his energy didn't match his mind. His friends noticed before he did. Bradley Walsh teased him gently one afternoon, saying, "Blimey, Deast, you look like you need an entire weekend in a spa." Mark rolled his eyes and fired back a joke, but inside he felt something he rarely felt. Uneasy. After enough nudging, Mark finally agreed to see a doctor. What he expected was a routine explanation: stress, diet, tiredness. What he didn't expect was a conversation that completely changed the direction of his life. The doctor sat with him, calm but serious, and explained that Mark needed to slow down, really slow down. His body was under strain, and pushing himself the way he always had was no longer an option. It wasn't a dramatic emergency, but it was a moment where life stood still and demanded attention. When Mark heard the words, his first instinct wasn't fear for himself. It was fear for his family. How would he explain that he needed to make changes? How would he tell his son that Dad wasn't as invincible as he seemed? For a man known for his confidence, it took everything in him to breathe normally. He drove home slowly that night, the city lights blurred by the mix of worry and determination swirling inside him. He wasn't facing a crisis, but he was facing a turning point. Life was asking him to shift, to rethink, to take care of himself in ways he had ignored for far too long. When he finally told his close friends, the reaction was immediate. Bradley sat beside him quietly for a moment, then clapped a hand over Mark's shoulder and said, "Mate, you've done the hard work your whole life. Let us carry some of it now." Anne Hegarty sent him a message that made him laugh, something about him not being allowed to turn into a dramatic Victorian character in need of fainting salts. Jenny Ryan offered to bring him home-cooked meals, which he accepted only after she promised not to judge his attempts at cooking. Sean Wallace spent hours talking with him, reminding him that slowing down didn't mean giving up. And Dara Ennis, in his calm, gentle way, simply said, "We've got you, mate." Mark realized in that moment that he wasn't alone, not even close. When filming schedules had to be adjusted, the production team didn't hesitate. They told him to take time, to rest, to breathe. They reminded him that he was family, not just a face on television. And in the quiet spaces between phone calls and emails of support, Mark felt something he rarely allowed himself to feel: vulnerable. He walked into his home that evening with a heavy heart, unsure of how to explain everything. But something unexpected happened. His family didn't fall apart. They didn't panic. They simply listened, and wrapped him in more love than he could have imagined. His son hugged him like he was afraid Dad might disappear if he let go, and said, "It's okay, Dad, you can rest. I'll be your hero this time." The sentence nearly melted Mark into the carpet. From that moment on, their home became filled with more laughter than stress, more jokes than fear, more togetherness than ever before. His son took his role as assistant to Dad's downtime very seriously. He made silly schedules that included things like, "Dad must nap," "Dad must eat snacks," "Dad must watch a movie I choose even if it's terrible," "Dad is not allowed to worry because that's my job now." Mark hung the list on the fridge, and he followed it. For once, he allowed himself to relax, to enjoy breakfast slowly, to watch shows guilt-free, to let his brain rest from constant pressure. And despite the uncertainty around him, Mark found something surprising in the quiet. Joy. Real joy. He and his son built ridiculous Lego castles. They had pancake battles in the kitchen. They played quiz games where Mark pretended he didn't know the answers just to make his son confident, although the dramatic wrong answers were so outrageous that his son accused him of being weird on purpose. Even on the days where Mark felt tired or frustrated, his family became the source of laughter that pulled him out. The fans, meanwhile, had no idea what was going on behind the scenes at first. They simply noticed his absence, and when he finally shared a gentle, honest update saying he needed time to take care of himself, the internet exploded with support. Messages poured in from around the world. "You've given us years of fun. Now take care of you. We miss you, Beast. Rest up. Sending you strength, love, and a mountain of snacks. We're not going anywhere. You take your time." Mark read them slowly, one by one, feeling his heart grow heavier in the best way possible. The love was overwhelming. He didn't feel small. He didn't feel weak. He felt supported. It was a new kind of strength, not the kind that comes from conquering a quiz board, but the kind that comes from accepting compassion. As weeks passed, Mark regained energy little by little. He smiled more. He laughed louder. He teased his friends in group chats. He felt like himself, not the version the world expected, but the version he liked. The human one. The tender one. The one who could be strong and still vulnerable at the same time. He stepped back into work slowly, on his own terms, with his family cheering him on. His son proudly announced, "Dad is back, but he's not allowed to overdo it or I'll tell on him." And Mark laughed, a deep, full laugh that he hadn't felt in months. The journey ahead wasn't finished. Life still came with challenges, but he wasn't facing them alone, not anymore. He had a family that adored him, friends who stood beside him, fans who believed in him, a world ready to welcome him every time he stepped back into the spotlight. And for the first time in a long time, Mark felt something powerful rise inside him. Not fear, not stress, not pressure. Hope. Because no matter what obstacles life threw his way, love, support, humor, and connection were stronger than all of them. And Mark Labbett, the man, not the beast, was ready to keep moving forward, one steady step at a time.